Hey everybody, this is Jim. We'll be covering DraftKings and FanDuel today. We have a 4-game slate here on DraftKings and FanDuel. These games are pretty interesting. It's actually a pretty decent slate because there's a lot of value, and then some high-end players also look pretty good. So let's go ahead and get into the slate itself. Can you please smash that like and subscribe button? It really helps the channel. So for the injury report, the Pistons are missing Cunningham, Bogdanovich, Ivy, and Duren, and then Stewart is questionable. For the Heat, Hero is questionable, Lowry is out, and Love is probable. For the 76ers, Dedmon is out. For the Hornets, Washington is doubtful, and Martin is out. For the Celtics, Brown is out. For the Magic, Isaac is out. And for the Pelicans, Zion and Nance are out. So with that said, we have some good options today. We're going to start with my non-Detroit picks. We're going to start with LaMelo Ball for Charlotte. He looks like he's in a really good spot here, and you're going to be able to utilize him today with his price being pretty about as low as it's been lately, at just over 10,000. It had crept over 11,000 last week, and then even a couple of times before. But as long as it stays around 10,000, it's a pretty decent option, especially in a high octane game like Charlotte and Detroit will be, especially with Detroit out. He should play and have really good opportunity to have a big game here. Then we're going to look at Jason Tatum for Boston. He's in a similar situation with Brown out. He's going to have all the minutes and usage that he can handle in this one. And this should be a high-scoring game as well between Boston and the New York Knicks. I think that's a really solid game to target in some capacity here. The only game that's really higher is the Charlotte and Boston game. And then the Pelicans and Orlando game are kind of the same, with the Philadelphia-Miami game being low-scoring. Then we're going to look at C.J. McCollum. For New Orleans, he looks like he's a pretty good spot here with Zion still out. He's going to have more usage here. He's been playing really solid lately. His floor is around in the mid-20s, which is a little bit concerning, but his price is actually down today. And with his price being down and a good matchup, he should have some nice upside here. I think he's in a spot that I really like him, especially if you need to pay up for some guys. Derek White, also interesting today. He is probable at this point. He should play, though, and if he does play, he should be... you do want to make sure that he is playing full minutes, but when Brown was out before, he did really well with him out in 13 straight games, and he had some really big games. So you do want to make sure Brown is out before using him, or make sure Derek White is clear and not on a minutes limit before using him, but he still has some nice upside on the slate. Marcus Smart obviously is a good option as well with that situation there. With Brown out, he's going to get more usage. And then, of course, if White was limited to some degree, he would actually get even a bigger boost. But as is with Brown out, he's still going to have some nice upside as a result. And so we'll have to see how that injury situation plays out in Boston. But they both look like interesting plays. And then Robert Williams, also looking very interesting for Boston. He played really well with Brown out throughout for the 13 or 14 games he was out. And he has some nice upside in this matchup because of that situation with Brown out again. And his prices come back down some, which had risen quite a bit as a result of that injury before when he was starting every day. So he looks interesting. As for FanDuel, before I get that, we got to get on our Detroit players. We have 4 Detroit players to take a look at here, and those are going to be Alec Burks. They're going to be James Wiseman. See here, Hami Diallo, and then Killian Hayes. Now, with all the injuries and guys out for Detroit, all 4 of these guys look like great value plays today. They're all underpriced for the potential here. There's other players on Detroit that I also like as well, but these are my favorite ones, and I think they're the guys that you want to utilize in some capacity, or at least a couple of them, to fill out your lineup. And obviously, you're going to have to pay up for guys like Ball or Tatum or even Embiid if you really want to. You can go that way as well. But there's definitely different ways you can make a lineup today with these value plays being in the core part of your slate. I definitely could see a lineup with Ball, Tatum, McCollum, and then 3 of these guys along with a couple Boston players. So with that said, let's go in to get a FanDuel. And obviously over here it's a little bit harder because you don't really get the cheapness of the value plays that you do on DraftKings. But that doesn't mean that some of those guys aren't still valuable over here, as they are priced a little bit more fairly for what their outcome should be today. But we're going to start with LaMelo Ball. He is just in a really good spot here for Charlotte. He's played really well lately. His one exception really was this Miami game, but Miami plays a very slow down style of ball, and so I really like him in this matchup. CJ McCollum also looks interesting today for New Orleans. He's a little bit more expensive here on FanDuel than DraftKings, but he has just as much upside as a result of the situation there with guys out, and so I look for him to have a good opportunity. Derek White also looks very interesting, though obviously a little bit more expensive than FanDuel, but when he was starting for Brown, or when he was playing with Brown out, he really had a big boost in fantasy output. I look for that to continue, assuming he is full complement of minutes today. Then we're looking at Gordon Hayward, who's in an interesting spot because P.J. Washington is doubtful, and if P.J. Washington misses, that will definitely boost his potential here. He'll get more usage as a result. He's also got a good matchup here to give him some nice upside. Then we'll look at Killian Hayes for Detroit. He's looking like he's in an interesting spot. Obviously, he's more expensive than he is on FanDuel, and my last 4 picks here are from Detroit, and they're all more expensive than FanDuel, or than DraftKings, but they do have some upside with the injury situation. These guys are going to play 30-plus minutes each today, and they're in a nice plus matchup. That's Killian Hayes, Hami Diallo, Alec Burks, and then James Wiseman. I don't think you should use all 4 of them. I think maybe 2 of them, and then some of the other guys that I mentioned, as well as, to fill out your lineup, is probably the best case scenario on FanDuel. But on, for DraftKings, it's definitely going to be more imperative to use those guys because they're just too cheap for their potential today. So with that said, guys, thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them below, and have a nice day, guys.